together in person. This is great. Thanks for the candidates for taking the time. Because we have 4 acclaimed candidates for council, for legislative member, I think what we're going to do is we're going to have those people give a little introduction of who they are and what they're hoping to accomplish in the course of the next term. And then we'll move to the all candidates meeting with our 3 candidates for president. And you know, I kind of missed some detail when I was calling this all candidates meeting. Typically, if there is a contest for legislative member and for president, then we have a 3-hour meeting because we have a lot of candidates. But clearly, we don't need a 3-hour meeting if there's only the 3 candidates for president. So we'll try and keep it to an hour or 90 minutes, as long as we, you know, the meeting will flow along. We'll see how it goes from there. So I'm going to ask the 4 people who have been elected or acclaimed, and I'll just go in alphabetical order if that's okay. And Lavanna, if you could give us a little presentation about who you are and what you're hoping to accomplish as a legislative member.
All right. Hello, and you can hear me. Checking.
Yep.
Good. Okay. Hi, my name is Lavanna Mastrangelo. Brief introduction. I'm one of the granddaughters from Johnson McCarthy and a daughter of Lisa McCarthy. I'm born in Campbell River and am fortunate to have expanded my career in education throughout Vancouver Island. My career is built on 9 years of post-secondary education in biological sciences and Indigenous research through North Island College and the University of Vancouver, or University of Victoria. And 8 years of my career is through experience of Indigenous relations and working with First Nations governance, experience with provincial, federal, corporate, and with our own nation, which you may remember from previous years. What do I hope to achieve in this 4-year term? This is my first term, so I'm excited about that and really looking forward to connecting with our community in a new way and with our legislators and our soon-to-be president-elect. My focus is on equal rights to employment opportunities and building those pathways. So contributing to effective recruitment and retention strategies and how we can bring our people closer to home and with their goals and objectives being part of our vision moving forward. Part of that is going to be a commitment to our Constitution, and again, focused on listening and team building. And that has everything to do with economic development, our current economy as standstill, and also our community development. Then last is my focus on protecting our lands and coastal waters. That is my area of expertise. That's where I've spent the last 8 years, is focusing on stewardship, Indigenous stewardship, monitoring and inspection plans, and really identifying how our evolving ecosystems to our lands and to our waters, and having that pathway connecting to our economy and how those can bridge opportunities to students and our citizens. And yeah, that is my 3 minutes. And thank you for making me the first person. And I'll pass it on back to you, Kit. Thanks.
Thanks, Lavanna. I think next is Asia.
Thank you. Uklama Yuułuʔiłath, Mamafnikits Asia Tucci, Yuułuʔiłath, Uhuqua Nuwixu Matthew Tucci, Yuułuʔiłath, Uhuqua Umixu Leah Galling, Satellite Cree Nation, Uhuqutah Nananixu Edith Tucci, Yuułuʔiłath, Matthew Brown, Klaokwit Ish Mary Ida Cardinal, Satellite Cree Nation, Thank you for being here tonight to hear from our presidential candidates. It's a privilege to have been given a mandate to serve another term, and I will take a moment to briefly explain what motivated me to run. Honestly, what got me into politics here was a series of frustrating experiences, feeling unheard, and a lack of commitment and skill to take our nation down the right path. Regardless of where we live, Yuułuʔił'ath citizens share a lot. Beyond the fact that we share family, we all in our own ways know firsthand the impact of historic colonial policy in Canada. Racism, poverty, substance abuse, violence, homelessness, unemployment. Challenges with provincial social services, discrimination in the health services, and disproportionately negative encounters with law enforcement. But the thing is, like many others I've spoken with, I refuse to accept that this in any way defines who we are. When I think about what it is to be Yuułuʔił'ath, I am reminded of how in the face of challenges we persevere. I think of the resilience of our people, past and present, the generosity we show to our loved ones, our openness, warmth, the passion we put into our community. I think of how incredibly hard we work and what it has taken to bring us to this moment. We are people defined by our triumphs, defined by our unwavering commitment to public service and to leaving no one behind. So when I look at what it will take today from our government to overcome our shared experiences in this country, I look towards the extensive toolkit we have as a modern treaty government and to the inspiring progress other modern treaty governments have made. And this is why I'm in politics, because we are not where we need to be, and I refuse to leave this work to my daughter's generation. It stops with us. We need a government that engages its citizens because it wants to keep them informed and wants to learn from them as it makes decisions. We need a government that practices accountability because it is committed to maintaining the trust of its citizens. We need a government that is invested in the outcomes of its decisions and is prepared to share those outcomes with the public. This is what will move us forward, that can send a message to our people that our nationhood matters, that our government has value, and that they can have faith that we will support them as they overcome challenges and build a better future for their families and our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Asa. Kurt.
Hi there, I am Gert Clotis, and it was just a spur of the moment for me to decide to run for this election, and I kind of wanted a button that said, that was easy. I wasn't expecting to get in. I had doubts, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh wow, I'm in. But here I am. I'm hoping to bring some positive to the workforce. I'm always like, it's a lot of it is negative, and I'm just like, we need to stop focusing on negative and focus on positive. We have a lot of good going in the community, and to keep that going, we can move forward in a positive way and stop relying on what happened in the past. There's a lot of work to do, I know that, and being a successful community, healthy, and a lot of the, like, we understand that there is unhealthiness that goes along with this, but if you move forward in a positive way, focusing on that is just not a part of who I am. I could say more, but I don't. Yeah, I didn't write anything down. But I just want to congratulate all the other ladies who made it in, and good luck to the candidates who are running. Vote, get out there and vote.
That's a
Thank
great
you.
message. Get out and vote. Thank you, Gert. Okay, Lori, you're up. Lori, see you online. Lori, are you there? You're next. We're waiting for your presentation. Says yes. I think you're on mute. Maybe that's the problem. Mhm. He's having technical issues. So while she tries to work on those technical issues, let's talk a little bit about the voting and the referendum. So there's a referendum vote at the same time as the election, and it's really critical to get as many people out as possible to vote in the referendum. The Referendum Act requires that 50% plus one of eligible voters vote in favor of a constitutional resolution in order for that to pass. So that means that we need more than half of the people to get out and vote. And if we don't get more than half of the people out to vote, then the constitutional referendum will fail, irrespective of who votes. You know, even if we got 100% people voting in favor of one or the other of those resolutions, unless you get 50% plus one of eligible voters out, then the referendum will fail. So we will try to encourage people to vote. If people haven't received their voter package, they should contact me. Contact information is available online, and there's a great video coming out about the referendum that'll be on Facebook with all the contact information on it. You can vote in person here, and you can vote in person in Port Alberni. There's an advanced poll on Friday here. The regular poll will be on May 10th. And if people haven't received their mail-in package and don't live either in Port Alberni or here, then they should vote electronically. That's the easiest and quickest way to ensure that your vote gets to us, because Canada Post has always been a little bit unreliable, and it's even more unreliable since COVID, as far as I can see. So I would encourage everybody to vote either on the internet or by telephone. Both ways of voting are quite easy, and you should be able to do that. Lori seems to be still having technical issues. All right, so we'll talk about the format for the meeting for the three candidates. I've discussed this with the candidates, and really this is an opportunity for the candidates to tell you what they would like to do if they get elected. So we're going to give them each 3 minutes to make their initial presentation. Oh, she's gone. And then we'll take questions both online and from the live audience here in the center. Keep your questions, short and to the point. Don't make long speeches. And then the candidates will have, a minute to answer the questions. But since we only have 3 candidates and we're trying to keep the meeting to 90 minutes, I'll be a little bit more flexible in terms of the timing. When we have, 15 people answering questions, you have to be a little bit more rigid on the timing. So we'll be a little bit more flexible on the timing. And if it gets into a little bit of a debate, I think that's probably healthy. And then at the end, we'll give the candidates a couple of minutes to summarize their positions. Lori, are you there? I see you signed in under another name. Nope, gone again. Okay, I think what we'll do is we'll move on to the 3 candidates for president. And if Lori does come back on, we'll give her an opportunity sometime during the meeting to talk. We did a very technical selection of who's speaking first. I had 3 little pieces of paper and each of the candidates selected a piece of paper. So Nick is going to speak first, then Gordon, and then Chuck. So Nick, you're up and you got 3 minutes.
Thank you, Kip. I'm Nick Tucci. For those of you who don't know me, my parents were Barbara Tucci and late Sam Tucci. Thank you all for coming today. I'm going to start by thanking all the Senate members that are outgoing. Thank you for your service. We appreciate it. No matter what the outcome of this election, I want to wish Chuck and Gordon success in the future. I've told family members that I would not run a smear campaign. I wasn't raised that way. I was raised in a Christian home and taught to respect elders, women, and elected leaders, even if we didn't vote for them. My mom was a great teacher. She taught me a lot about respect for everybody. Like I said before, respect your leaders, even if you didn't vote for them. I was encouraged to run by family members. I'm a spokesperson for my family on a few occasions, and I appreciate the support from my family and the family. As I was preparing for this, I put forward to my family a few things that I wanted to say and possibly do in this if I'm successful. And since I'm new to this, I'll just keep the agenda small. Like I'm fairly new, but in the job that I have now, I've been with the Coastal Restoration Society for 2 years, and my job is site safety officer. And what that is I'm responsible for the safety of all the crews that are out there. And I have to call them out on everything. I have to call you out if you're not wearing your PPE, I have to call you out. If you're not wearing your helmet, I have to call you out. If there's lateral violence, I have to take you aside. And I have to make a decision there if I'm going to write an incident report on you. But I'm very lenient in that time. I try not to purge them or ridicule them. I treat them with respect. I've been in leadership roles since I was 23 years old. I was put in charge of our plate freezers when I was 23. And it was actually Al McCarthy that taught me that job and more or less pushed me into it. And I stayed at that job till I was 48 years old. And I was very successful at it. All of the production records that are out of that UHS over there were set by my team. And I've been sober for 17 years and I'm proud of that fact. I've accomplished a lot in that time. One of the main things being is getting my license back, and I'm now leasing the car. I've never had good credit before, but I had to work to do a lot of things to bring that up. I've been in so many jobs in the past since I've been sober, and I've been trusted with vehicles from the companies that I've worked for. Domcor being one of them. When I was working out at Kennedy Hill, I worked for Davy Tree, and I was always allowed to take a truck home. And outside right now, I have my truck from my company truck from Coastal Restoration Society. I built up a lot of trust in the place that I'm working now, that enough so that my boss last year gave me my own company credit card that I use, and I've never abused that. And he's very thankful of that. And at the beginning, I said my agenda would be small, doable, because I'm fairly new to this. The company I work for, we just finished the project up in House It, removing over 100 vehicles, derelict vehicles. And I think the same can be done here. And it wouldn't be to the scale that we did there. But it's doable. Like that's one thing. My company has the resources, and the one thing that what happened there is it was funded internally with government subsidy. So I think it's very doable here. As I was prepping for this, I was asking my family some questions, and I had a complaint about our CFO, and it was unfounded. I was pointing out that our people aren't working on our assets, and it was pointed out to me. And thank you, Crystal, for pointing out to me that and asking me the tough questions. Like, it's not our CFO's fault. It's our people who are unwilling to work, unwilling to be committed to the jobs that they're doing. And now that I know that a lot of things that are going to be coming up are there isn't always going to be an easy solution, but I'm willing to work towards it.
Nick, you're way over time.
Sorry.
The timer went off probably 3 minutes ago. So we had agreed to a 3-minute introduction. So you're way over time. I'm going to have to cut you off.
I thought you said you were going to be lenient.
Well, yeah, I was lenient. I gave you twice as much time as we had agreed to.
Okay, yeah, it'll come up with questions, hopefully, when I can
Yeah.
address what else I was going to say.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Gordon, I'll be lenient too. Hang on, Gordon. I don't think your mic's working. Try again. Just test it.
Hello,
Yeah, that's better.
hello, my name is Gordon Taylor. It is my privilege to be asking for your vote for this presidency this term. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out and everybody for attending on Zoom, and thank the legislative members for their speeches. This election is about more than different ways of dealing with issues. It's about who we are and what we want Yuułuʔił̱ath to be. This vote is our opportunity to remind the world and ourselves that our government is progressive, innovative, welcoming, and compassionate. It's an opportunity to say that we are not a government that protects the interests of a few, that conducts business behind closed doors, and that is unwilling to make difficult decisions when it needs to. Instead, we can say that we are a government that fights for equality, that does its work in the open with the people, and that is prepared to innovate and lead the tough conversations in order to make challenging decisions. Our people have persevered through immense challenges before. You look at the Indian Act, the displacement of our ancestors onto reserves, our family experiences, residential schools, the 60 scoop, and the current child welfare system. In all, we overcame because we worked tirelessly, adapted, took risks, and stuck together. And that's the key to the success of this community, is to stick together. That same energy is needed today. With the tools and resources now available to our government, we have no excuse for allowing our people to struggle. High unemployment, low educational attainment, unsafe housing. Our people demand more than this. The pace of change has been too slow. We need leaders who understand the urgency and have the skills to turn our people's needs into action. We've been governing under our treaty for 12 years, and that's an awful long time. We need to progress. We need to show our community, our citizens on and off reserve, the benefits of treaty. And what I've heard from citizens is clear. We're done waiting, and we're ready for new leadership to finally fulfill the promise of our treaty and our nationhood. I'm ready to work with everyone to use the skills and experience that I have developed in government and in business in order to bring about the changes that our people have been demanding for years. New housing opportunities, childcare and elder support, development of our lands, job creation, programs and services that promote equality amongst our people as well as other Canadians. And crucially, doing this work under leadership that prioritizes openness, accountability, and communication. We must engage the people impacted by our decisions and make decisions transparently if we have any hope of delivering effective solutions to our people. This election's about all of us working together to deliver a new government, one that cares, one that is ready to hit the ground running with solid policy solutions, that has knowledge about the issues that matter to citizens, and that understands how to navigate the process that must be followed in order to get this work done quickly. I am ready. I know our citizens are ready, and I look forward to going on this journey together. Thank you.
Thank you, Gordon. Chuck?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah, just to touch on a couple of things, I mean, I ran previously on, employment for our citizens and bringing them into the workplace. I mean, and we've achieved that over the last few years or whatever. And under the duress of COVID, I mean, you got to realize like two and a half of those years have been in lockdown, and there's different requirements that you can't meet in person and a lot of other things. We on the economic development side, I mean, we have, lot 463, which we're in, we've had community engagement on developing that with, market housing and healthcare. We've brought that to the community. We moved away from NTC. We've got our own doctor. We have our own mental health and a number of other things which we want to bring to Port Alberni on a certain level, because we now have an office in Port Alberni that we'll be engaging our citizens in urban area like in Port Alberni. And then also there will be we have a community engagement person that will be working to reach out to what the needs are of our people. And education is one of the things that I ran on too, was to post-secondary and trades. We've had, I think over the last couple of years, some of the highest people in post-secondary and trades. And over the next 4 years, we have an increase in the budget or whatever from negotiations that went on of another 65,000 per year on top of what we've been putting out. And the other thing too is, homeowner grant, those things it's another opportunity for people that want to buy their own home. The policy is there. We just have to adopt the policy. Maybe it'll be next week, and then they'll get the 25,000 on a pre-approved loan. So those are things that I've ran on, and one of the the main things is if I've always pushed the sovereignty of our nation. In the modern world right now, we get a push from both sides. We get pushed from the asserted rights, and then we're a treaty nation. But the asserted rights, the way the government is now, it seems like we're getting pushed. So those all have to be negotiations. And you talk about housing. Yeah, we've chose to repair the houses that were in disrepair, so we wouldn't lose as many over the first funding. Instead of building 3 new ones, we've upgraded a lot of them. And the other thing is too, over the next 4 years, we got slated on our through the last 3 years of negotiations, we got 41 houses that will be actually coming here between now and 2026 or 2027. We got 3 this year. We got 8 coming up next in 2024. Then we have 12 after that. And so if you look at those type of opportunities, it looks like the government is, but a lot of things are subject to non-disclosure agreements, which when you're in negotiations with the government, a number of people know it. You can't bring it as public knowledge. So when you look at it, those things have been negotiated. As people here will know, you hear the blast. A couple of times over the last week. That is a rock quarry that is going to be going to our expansions out on. I don't know what that road is out here, but at the end where Jimmy Clayton runs, there's going to be a development there that will take up to 12 modular homes for that new development. and then there'll be one to the east, which is going to be another one. So when you look at it, I mean, it's cheaper for us to produce our own aggregate rather than sit and buy it somewhere else. So those are things. Forestry, we got 20 million coming in. That was when we were first talking about this. I think it was the first year or two with the executive. Our prediction from our lawyers at that time were only to be 1 or 2 million. We turned around, we got some professionals, we got Zoli in it, and that 2 million ended up being 20 million. And we still have an ongoing, I mean, potentially another 30 million coming in within the next year. So you're looking at an increase in almost 50 million that this government has done. And to see that, and in forestry, we're looking to get a tenure. We've been struggling for the last 2 years to get a tenure. So with that, I see the sign that it's my time's up. Sorry.
Thanks, Chuck. I think Lori has overcome some of her technical challenges. She's going to talk to us over the phone. Lori? Hmm. Maybe not. Okay, well, Lori's continues to struggle with tech. We'll move on to questions. So you can direct your questions to any one of the candidates or all of the candidates. If a question is directed to one candidate, the other candidates are allowed to answer if they want to interject. If you Oh, Lori, you're unmuted. Are you ready to go?
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Great.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I am so very sorry. My sincere apologies, everybody. My two computers aren't working and my cell phone is barely working. Thank you for your patience during my technical issues here. Okay, for everybody that does not know me, my name is Lori Tucci, and I have lived in the community of Atatsu for the last 43 years. And I have two wonderful daughters, Melanie Tucci and Jenny Tucci, and I was married to the late Harold Tucci. I just wanted to say thank you very much for the last 4 years of being in office. It's been a very humbling experience, and I'm truly looking forward to the next 4 years. And I would like to continue to build on the accomplishments of the healthcare department. You know, we have a wonderful healthcare department now, and that's something I'm really proud of, but I can't take all the credit for that. You know, we have Dr. Rohan and his team that have put this together, and, with the help of the executive members as well. I don't want to stay on too long chit-chatting because I've wasted so much time with technical issues, and I do sincerely apologize for that. And I just want to say I look forward to working with Gert and Asia and Lavana, and good luck to the president-elect. And thank you very much for the time. And again, I'm so sorry for my technical issues tonight.
Thanks, Lori. We all have our challenges sometimes struggling with technology, so I don't think any apologies are really necessary. Okay, so questions. We'll go on to questions. For those of you who are online, at the bottom of your screen, there is a reactions button, and you can raise your hand, and we'll, lowering mine, and we will recognize you to ask questions. And if anybody in the audience wants to ask a question, just put up your hand and we'll keep a list. And then we're going to rotate the answers. So for the first question, Gordon, you'll be the first speaker, and then we would just keep rotating so it's not always the same order. So Alex Tucci, you have a question. You can unmute and we'll hear your question.
Thank you very much. My question is, what does engagement mean to you, and how do you plan to make it a priority? And that's for all the candidates.
What does engagement mean to you? Gordon?
We have a democracy here. In order for democratic government to deliver to its citizen, it needs to talk to them and it needs to understand them. Put another way, when government is planning to make a decision, it needs to speak with the people that decision would impact. This isn't just about getting opinions. It's also about understanding how decisions might impact people and what government can do to manage these impacts. We all have constitutional rights to be informed and engaged on Yuułuʔił̱ath affairs. And yet the current approach can have improvements to engage in its citizens. Well, here's my approach. Unless I'm otherwise required, I will inform and engage the citizens unless there's compelling legal reasons not to. I will fight tirelessly to keep you informed on major developments and plans and ensure that you are engaged on the decisions that will impact you. The president is a public servant, and as your public servant, I will take the lead from you. And the only way to do this is making sure that all of our members are communicated on a daily basis, so that moving forward, we have a better understanding of how communication and engagement can better us. Thank you.
Thank you, Gordon. Chuck? Yep.
Well, community engagement, I mean, we've had, I mean, a number of engagements, and like over the last 3 years, there's been a limited amount of, I mean, engagements, basically because of, I mean, COVID. So those, I mean, have gone out through, I mean, notices, emails, information through our Yuułuʔił̱ath newsletters. And yeah, it is nice to have, I mean, information flowing on bigger projects and other things. But sometimes there's, I mean, like I mentioned, when we get to a certain point of having NDAs, those disclosures can't be, I mean, free to pass on to the public, I mean, until you're concluded your negotiations, which gives, I mean, optics of, I mean, like you're conducting in secrecy. But at the same time, as you can see, I mean, community engagement, I mean, we've tried a number of times, even like on the constitution amendments. I mean, we've had, I mean, here we've had, I mean, 2 or 3 people. The vote was, I mean, just to adopt an agenda so we could have those discussions. So those things, it's on a basis to basis. I mean, everything. Yeah, you have to engagements, but at the same time, there's a certain amount of time that it takes to get to the point of engagement where we are going. And I don't think that's really answering any question, but I mean, that's where I'm at.
Thank you, Chuck. Nick?
Community engagement starts at the top, goes down, and clear and concise instructions, or as it were, is very important. I've learned that in the job that I have now, but you have to be careful too about how you do it. Like privacy amongst our members is important. You can't be that will be the most important thing. Is I've learned that doing the job that I have now, but it just there's certain things that you have to protect about a person if there's something there. And it's what I have to look out for with the job that I have now. I have to approach problems with that in the back of my mind. There are certain things that I'm not allowed to do, I'm not allowed to ask. And community engagement is with clear and concise instructions is very important. Thanks.
Thank you, Nick. Questions? Other questions? Questions from the audience here? Yep, there's a mic right there.
My name is Geneva, obviously. One thing that probably came up just within this past term was concern about people being present with meetings opening up once again. I was just curious how you plan to bring members of legislatures home. I guess this is a question for you and Haman as well. Just to have that person face-to-face communication with our citizens that live here. That was one concern that was brought up in our term. Yuułuʔił̱.
Thanks, Geneva. We'll start with Chuck.
Yeah, just, getting somebody to come home and it's not bad. I mean, if you're in an island or you're 2-3 hours away, but I mean, when you have to actually fly from another province to get here, there's added costs, there's added, everything is an added cost to the legislature and its functioning abilities. I think, I mean, for me, I mean, I've always been one to, when you talk about engagement, I mean, it is being here and being able to talk to the citizens. I've missed one meeting because I was in Ottawa and everybody noticed it. But I mean, that is the commitment that I have to this nation, and I take that as responsibility. I put my private, what do you call it, behind me, but I mean, that's a commitment that we need to have. And I know having people in the room is a lot different than Zoom. And it means a lot. And I don't know actually how functional, I mean, things can be if you're not here. And I mean, depending on whatever your portfolio is to, if your, I mean, oversight is for culture and heritage, that's a weekly thing. That's a daily thing. If you look at it at finance or even, I mean, community health, I mean, those are issues. So those will be, I mean, a challenge that will be communicated back to the executive and how they feel that they're going to address it. So that's left on an individual, how you're going to address and how you're going to be present here. But I think being here is, I mean, paramount to a lot of the subjects that go on a daily basis or a weekly basis. It affects our ability to sign checks. I mean, everybody knows here that I mean, that's been on the legislature and executive, that's who's going to sign now when everybody's away from home. I don't think I answered that properly, but that's.
Thanks, Chuck. Nick?
That was something that was a question that I was thinking about too before I came in. What Chuck said, like check signing, and we got all these senators outside of our reserve here, our traditional lands. How is that going to be addressed? And the only thing I could think of was what a long time ago, when I was still at UHS, I had to go and ask for a drag, and the big boss wasn't there. And my supervisor at the time, it was approved over the phone, but we didn't have the boss there to sign the check. So he what the boss had was a rubber stamp with his signature on it. I don't know if that's feasible here. I don't even know if they do that anymore. But yeah, that's something that's worth looking into, I think, depending on how many more candidates we get for Senate, I guess. Thanks.
Gordon?
Thank you. I'm confident that, as we've seen in other nations, that it's possible to strike a balance and find innovative solutions. We have the resources and capacity to strike that balance, and hoping that the new legislature will work collaboratively to make this happen. Issues of being available to the importance of making sure things are signed appropriately. As we know, it's always seems to be ASAP when you're looking for somebody to sign. Making sure that, like Nick said, I worked at the fish plant as well, and chasing our general manager down was always an issue. So they came up with a solution. So I believe there is solutions out there that can be solve these issues, but at the same time, you're asking about adequate representation. And again, we have to be mindful of open to all citizens. And I'm sure everybody in the government body has that commitment. Once they're put in this position. Anybody put in this position is always going to make that commitment to make sure that we have adequate protocols in place to make sure that these issues don't arise and become commonplace. We can solve them. Thank you.
Thanks, Gordon. Other questions?
Hi, Marilyn Tucci. Okay, so you hear in the news about a high cost of living, inflation, high interest rate, violent social issues, and it trickles here in Yuułuʔił̱ath, so it comes here. So my question is, what are your plans for the next 4 years, and how would you go about making the changes that you want to see? Sure.
Thanks. We'll start with Nick.
Thank you. This is all new to me. I've always been up to a challenge though. In just the past year, my job has required me to acquire a lot of tickets. I've acquired 8 tickets in just the past year and 4 in just the past 2 months. Where all those issues you're talking about, where it would have to be a slow process. I don't even know if it'll be doable like in a term. I take a couple of terms, but those issues, as you said, the violence, and they all trickle down to our reserve. And it's true, I've seen it. It's hard to say what your plan is going to be when you're unsure of the outcome, I guess you would say. And I'm willing to learn. I'm adaptable. I've had to, where I work, our plans are always changing. And I don't want to be too confident, say I have all the answers, but I'm willing to learn. And the big issues in our reserve is I see a lot of, in the summertime, we get a lot of ambulances, police cars coming over here. And it gets worrying to me. Our young people are going down the wrong path. And we've lost a few young people in just these past few years. I could sympathize with them because I'm a recovering alcoholic myself. And the truth is, we can't force them to, get sober. It's an internal decision, and you have to really want it. And all the other issues she talked about, like I said, I'm new to this. I would be willing to look at learning and more training if that's what's required. But yeah.
Thanks, Nick. Gordon?
Yes, thank you for the question. Community safety is ultimately a reflection of the success of our government. When times are good, with good jobs, safe housing, solid service provision, and well-functioning democratic government, this issue requires less intervention from government. To achieve that, it starts from the top. It starts with your legislative body, with your Yuułuʔił̱ath and your elders, your youth. We need to go through KPIs, which is key program indicators, which are for social, economic, community wellness, which digs in depth into how our community is functioning, the issues that you talk about, the social housing, the abuse, the alcohol, the safety of the community overall. When we dig into these programs and break them apart up at the legislative level by utilizing this social economic KPIs, we're looking more in depth on how we actually provide our services in areas that need improvement. Is the areas we can address. And it's not something that can be done on a yearly, it's not going to take a year. It's something that is required to be done yearly. It doesn't matter if it's after 4 years. And hoping that government would utilize these so that you actually see the government body is servicing the community members in their needs to make sure that there is improvement in quality of life, in the safety of your elders, of your family, of your children. And the only way to reach that is to deeply dig in, to get a better understanding of what challenges are out there within the community on and off reserve. This is the only way we will be able to move forward. There's shortcomings in areas. Yes, we do now provide dental and doctors and things like that, but you need a better in-depth look into what's causing the problems. And I believe this is the way to do it. It starts with your leadership. And this is what I'm talking about, engaging with your community in these ways. So we have a better understanding of how do we create a healthy community? How do we create that unity? And this is how I see it. The only way we can come together is to have a better understanding of our challenges and what can our government do to make improvements in those areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Gordon. Chuck?
Yeah, just thinking back to our community engagement that we had with, citizens here and our strategic plan that we had moving forward, that which was identifying the priorities of the community. One was, was actually, the opioids and addictions and the abuse. And with that, we came to, a conclusion or whatever that was always coming to the top was, a drug or a rehab center. For that Yuułuʔił̱ath would be, building. And it all starts, too, with mental health and housing. The housing and the healthcare all comes back to how people are actually living here too, right? And that's been like one of the biggest things. Is if we can address the housing, you see people living in trailers, it's mold and everything else. There's no, feeling of self-worth. It's almost like a feeling of abandonment, from society. And that's for us to achieve something is has to be the ability for us to engage through what it is. You can't make a person go to rehab or do anything else. I've been down that road with, a number of family members that have addictions. So until they're willing to move in that direction, I like I said, it was a priority of this government that was set, that, I mean, would be, I mean, a treatment center and it's, basically preventative through education and other. A lot of people won't, I mean, a lot of people are in denial. I'll say it. I mean, a lot of people, I mean, have alcohol problems. We see it daily. A lot of people just go by it like it doesn't exist. That is the problem. That is the problem for us as a society. If it's acceptable for us to walk by somebody that has these traits or whatever, that you sort of look down on. That's not how it is. So it has to be people that actually care and go out, make a difference. I don't know, is that the dog barking or what?
That wasn't me, Chuck. I wasn't yelling at you.
Oh, my time's up?
Other questions? Yeah.
Sorry, I'm kind of the spokesperson too, so I'm getting sent questions. Another question is for staff to be able to feel safe and comfortable within their positions, how you plan to address rumors that some staff might get ridden of, like if how you plan to address the concerns of the staff that currently work within our office. Yuułuʔił̱.
We start with Gordon.
Thank you for the question, Geneva. No, as leadership, you have to take the bull by the horns. And this is also another area where KPIs are important, not just at the legislative level, but at your administration level. Your process of having reviews done on the people that are employed with Yuułuʔił̱ath. And to me, it's not a matter of punishment. You know, like it always seems like it's where we have to stop. The way I think about it, you know, working in the workforce for 50+ years, knowing when to be firm, when you'll be able to review data on your management and their employees, you get a better understanding of their strengths and weaknesses. We also was mentioned that we have to look at the positive. Let's look at the positive, yes. But let's look at the weaknesses. We can help them improve. We have to find ways to make those improvements. And by way of doing that is asking the questions. It trickles down from your leadership from the top to your executive board, to your admin, to get to the root of the problem. If there happens to be any problems with employees. I think implementing a dress code would be a nice option. And a review of any records we might be able to look at so we can determine how successful that worker is doing. Rather than, you know, having employees worried about their job stability. We can't keep changing every time a new government comes in. Like I said, we need unity and we need to solve these issues together. Thank you.
Thanks, Gordon. Chuck?
Yeah, one of the things that I guess me as president, I mean, I think this is like maybe the third time under the treaty. I mean, I had one short term, but you know, I mean, I've made it my policy. I mean, my own personal view of is not to, I mean, it's not for me to oversee. I mean, on the policies, it's an HR policy that I mean is driven by the HR person. I mean, in which we're in the development of, I mean, actually hiring an HR person to come in. So I mean, the job security of, I mean, I don't attend any of the personnel hiring or anything, just specifically because, I mean, people would always just point to me and just say, you did this, you did that. And that's just not how I am. I let, I mean, the process take its course, and there's only actually one person that's under the executive that, I mean, we have, I mean, to deal with, and that's it. So, I mean, other than HR, I mean, I don't see any issue with employees. And I mean, if we were to be in that position of, I mean, those, I mean, it could be, I mean, quite costly for, I mean, severance pay, or just the fact that somebody might say those type of things is, I mean, is not acceptable. So, I mean, we have, I mean, a number of people working for us. Yeah, that might not be citizens, but at the same time, those are professional people. And at the same time, we're trying to build up our citizens. So sometimes the non-citizens will be probably the ones that sort of prop up or whatever, and our citizens, or encourage them to move to the next level. So, I mean, I see a benefit in the way it's structured as it is now, where there's no, I mean, political or whatever. And the same thing like how our economic development is structured with, I mean, the operating board and those. I mean, we've separated it for a purpose. So you have no influence coming down from the government, and then you just at arm's length. So those things work. I mean, they save you from liabilities. And that's, I guess that's my answer.
Thank you, Chuck.
I gave my mom a hard time when I was growing up. I was a teenager. I was a bad teenager. I was constantly getting into fights and getting into trouble. And she would always say to me, turn the other cheek. I said, it took me a long time to realize what that meant. I bring that up because I know the stresses that our office workers face on a daily basis. She said safety for the office, and my job right now is a safety officer. I have to hold people accountable. I have to hold everybody accountable, even my bosses. I've had to throw two of my bosses under the bus. The one just recently is a month ago. So I'm not the most popular guy there, but I'm not there for that. I'm there to do a job, and I do it well. I've been at it for over a year and a half as a safety officer. We've been to Kamloops. We've been up and down the island. In Kamloops, we had over 300 people, and I was constantly in training, constantly wearing different hats out there. And it's my whole job is to keep everybody safe. And on my watch, nobody's been hurt. Not one. But for safety in the office, it's holding people accountable. That's my whole thing. I just hold people accountable, and I have to call out a lot of things at my work: lateral violence, tardiness, and my superiors don't address it. It's up to me to address it. And I keep getting compliments from Big Boss that, you know, you're doing a good job, even if you're not the most popular guy out there. And I'm not there for a popularity contest anyway. I enjoy my job, and I enjoy traveling around and working in all these places. And if it translates to the office, if I'm in there leading them, it's going to be almost the same thing. People are going to be held accountable. And if an outsider comes in and wants to be laterally violent with any of my workers, that's not going to be tolerated. It'll never be tolerated by me. And that's I really enjoy my job because they've given me a lot of tools to work with. I've been through a lot of training. And I have family in the office. I have a lot of relatives in the office, and the number one thing would be safety for the office and the office crew. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. We have a question from Alex Tucci. Alex?
Thanks, Kit. So this one's for everybody as well. How do you plan to address housing issues on and off the TSL during the next term? Thanks.
And we'll start with Chuck.
Well, one of the things, like I mentioned before, I mean, we have the $25,000. That's the contribution to qualified loan for first-time homeowners. And we've been looking at potentially getting a little bit more real estate housing in selected areas, but that is for, I mean, our students that, I mean, might be specific to Nanaimo and Victoria, where they can go post-secondaries. And then, I mean, a large home where you could have students live there, and one of our citizens would be looking after the house. So, I mean, this is something that was back in 2011, 2012 that we try to get into or I brought to the table. One of the things back in 2011, 2012 was to start buying houses. I mean, after the market crashed and even across the bay, it was, I mean, like 300,000. But I mean, at that time, we were pretty financially strapped, I guess it would be. But now, I mean, with, I mean, the opportunity to develop in other areas, I mean, through our specific claims and some other options through BC Housing or different areas where we would be able to expand in areas where, I mean, our citizens are, our urban citizens are located. And those would be, I mean, key points, I believe, because I mean, there's no idea of us, I mean, going to, I mean, Campbell River and other areas, but I mean, like in Nanaimo, Victoria, where there's key areas where we have, I mean, higher density Yuułuʔił̱ath. So expand into real estate.
Thanks, Chuck. Nick?
Thank you. I've always wanted my son to come home, and he wants to come home. He just doesn't want to live with me, but that's okay. There are a few houses here who they seem like they're too large for the amount of people that are in there. I don't know if anybody else has noticed that, but I'm not saying kick them out. I'm saying that if there are new places coming up, and you could put the people who are in houses that are too large, like there's only two people in the, it's just an example, 2 people in a 3-bedroom house. Get them, maybe prioritize those ones for the smaller buildings that are coming up. Just thinking of that. And, I mentioned to my family that there's a lot of trailers popping up, and I'm not too sure if there was a plan on the table for a trailer park here. Yeah, I guess that's a plan, and it's hopefully it's doable. It seems like it's going to be a big cost with hookups for water and hookups for electricity, but it would be a good start. You know, a lot of people they're fairly cheap, but for the people that are buying them and bringing them in, and hopefully we can not subsidize, just make it a little bit better for them. Like a few of the places across the bay have built covers over their trailers, because I know a lot of these trailers that are here right now are dilapidated. Try to make it a little bit better for them, I guess. Or I don't know if the 25,000 would apply to trailers, but it would be worth looking into, I think. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. Gordon?
Thank you. If we want things to change, if we want our people to pursue higher education, to succeed in their careers, to provide for the next generation of Yuułuʔił̱ath, then we cannot have citizens worrying about the safety of their homes. This is fundamental. People cannot even think about getting ahead if the health and safety of their loved ones is put at risk every day by the place they call home. Whether your house is privately owned, government owned, or rented privately, our government has to develop solutions that provide meaningful support to all of our citizens. This is an issue that affects folks on and off the TSL and has become a structural barrier to government and our citizens from achieving equitable social well-being with the rest of Canada. Fundamentally, this issue is about urgent support for those most in need. And, you know, a good example is what Chuck and Nick have said. If you look at all these trailers that are populated throughout the upper half of our community, if you look at solutions for singles, for couples, you can look into tiny homes. You know, they're worth maybe anywhere from 30,000 to 60,000. But at least you're thinking about quick solutions for those that need it. We need to increase from 2 to 3 bedrooms based on the data that was presented to us a few months ago, that our nation is overpopulated and some citizens, there's up to 10 people in one place. In order to address this, we really seriously need to look at the improvements of the residential homes that we construct, to be mindful of families aren't just 2 to 4 people. They could have up to 6 people. They could have up to 10 people. So to seriously look at other solutions where we start building townhouses where they have 4 bedrooms up and 1 bedroom down. So now you have that ability to house 6 people and they're not overcrowded. When you look at these situation we're in, it doesn't really give anybody that hope. You know, they're stuck. Why are they stuck? Why aren't our programs helping? Let's figure it out. There is solutions out there. So solution also, housing, in my visiting our community, elders, housing, the struggles that elders go through with their movement. There's a lot more elders seem to be getting hurt lately. Do we have appropriate housing for them? If they end up in a wheelchair, we need to check into that. Bathrooms, you know, we need to make sure that all the elders' homes are livable. We can't have standard homes for our elders. They need access to a proper bath. They need proper doorways put in. Communication has to be a key. They need to be able to communicate effectively when they need their help. And it's anybody that's in dire need of a place to stay. We need to improve on the conditions of what people are living in today. There's probably 6 houses out there right now that are in dire need of a tear down, not a renovation. These houses were built in the 60s, 70s, 80s. We can't just keep throwing money at them and tell it it's a renovation. The health and safety of our community is foremost. So we'll come up with solutions to address these issues. Thank you.
Chuck, you wanted to add something on this?
It was just, I mean, I might have neglected, it was part of my,